Perfect Timing Podcast, back with the blast, in and out with a dash. 2025 won't last. Everybody come in. We're going to have a fire live stream, a fire conversation. Thank you, everybody, for supporting. Thank you to all of my supporters. Make sure the video gets shared right now, and let's have a good talk this morning. How's everybody doing this morning? All right, man. All right. Purpose of our podcast with the blast in here, man. We're going to have a conversation. Trump today. We're going to talk about the Trump interview. We're going to talk about the whether or not you think Trump answered the question correctly or not. Wow, that's a good job, man. That's a good job. That's dope. So come on in. Let's have a conversation, man. I forget where I was going to go. But today we're going to be talking about the first 100 days. We already been talking about Trump's first 100 days. But today we're going to talk about Trump's first 100 days. And we also going to talk about a couple other topics. We're going to bridge. We're going to do the weave. Shout out to Trump. We're going to do the weave. You got to know how to do the weave. We're going to weave in a couple other topics that's popping on the social media today. So we got a couple big topics to talk about. But over the weekend, how many people watch weekend news, man? You know, Meet the Press used to be Sunday morning. George Stephanopoulos. Am I Stephanopoulos? Am I saying that right? What's the other guy? So KRISTEN is doing it now. But it used to be another guy. What's the other guy? But Sunday morning, man, like Sunday morning news, if you ever wanted, and this is one of the things, like people on a Sunday morning, they got to come through these media outlets. It's like you got, for politicians, you got to come through that Sunday morning. And there's a lot of issues in the past where if you're a politically advantageous person like we preach here, you definitely was watching Sunday morning, because some of the individuals that you wanted to hear from and you wanted to get opinions from, the only time without going to C-SPAN that you would get to see these people and hear them speak would be on Sunday morning news or Joe Scarborough. And I don't know if Scarborough is even relevant anymore. I don't know. Is Scarborough relevant? I don't know if Scarborough is even relevant anymore, but let's see. Sunday morning Meet the Press, mandatory. Sunday morning Meet the Press, mandatory. Well, let's get it going there, man. Let's get it going there. Sunday morning Meet the Press, mandatory. So it was one of those things you had to do. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna have a conversation this morning about the first 100 days, the interview. How many people saw the interview? Put a 5 in the chat if you saw the interview. You know what I'm saying? Put a 5 in the chat if you saw the interview. I saw the interview. I got clips of it. We're going to address some clips of it, and we're going to address the big question about whether or not the president needs to uphold the Constitution. It's a couple other clickbait moments in the interview. It was actually 2 interviews. So he did an interview. First interview he did with a gentleman. The second interview he did with KRISTEN. I think the interview he did with KRISTEN went more viral. You know what I'm saying? The interview he did with KRISTEN went more viral. So, but there's moments to go over in both. And all of us who watch this channel, we've already been discussing the first 100 days, right? We already talked about the productivity of the president, whether or not you agree with what's been done, but we've been very heavily supporting the president, congratulating the president, being very thankful, sending prayer. Let's pray real quick, because I think I need some prayer. The podcast needs some prayer. I can't remember the last time I prayed over the podcast, and I definitely need prayer. And a lot of times I preach about not even waiting on somebody else to pray for you so you can handle it yourself, man. And I've been watching a lot of the debates. It's like Hotep being fired up again. Got Muslim, Christian, Catholics, a lot of debates going on. So right now, God, thank you for your blessings. Thank you for blessing us with this beautiful studio, the opportunity and the platform to create this message. I pray that the message is a blessing unto those who hear it, and bless the podcaster and the host. Ask all these blessings in your name. Thank you for everything, man. I want to say, before we get out of here, I want to give 1,000 thanks. We come in prayer with humble hearts, eyes closed, head bowed. We have a lot of requests, but rarely do we focus on thanks. And I have a lot to be thankful for. My life, my health, my family, this opportunity. So, Father, eternal thank you 1,000 times. Amen. So, got to get that in, man. Prayer covering over the podcast. Bless the podcast and the message to everybody who hear the message and what's going out. So we had 2 interviews this weekend. So we were talking about Sunday morning news. How important Sunday morning news? Let's get a poll going. Let's see. Do you think the president did well with his interview? Did the president do well in his interview this weekend? In his interview with Meet the Press. And then we're going to say yes or no. We're going to start the poll like that. Thank you, brother. Marty McFly said, sending good vibes. Chief Quee said, what up, Chicken George? We're going to go ahead and get him out of here. But I wonder if there's a better way to handle the racists. We talked about this last time on how the racists are so powerful on the internet. Like, you can't say certain things, but you can be racist to a black person. So I thought about this the other day when you have Kanye West with the black KKK outfit, and everybody doesn't like it. But one thing I noticed about Kanye West and the black KKK outfit is that it's not illegal. And I think Kanye West is such a genius, because you look at Kanye West in the black KKK outfit and you say to yourself, it should be illegal. That should not be okay. But the white KKK outfit is not illegal. Bill Burr, in Bill Burr's latest comedy special, Bill Burr says, how come it's legal to be part of the KKK? How come the KKK is not outlawed and a terrorist organization? Everybody laughed. Oh, Bill Burr, you're so funny. Bill Burr said the KKK is not illegal because it's white, and they don't terrorize white people. They terrorize black people. So the KKK is legal. So Kanye West puts on a black KKK outfit and everybody gets offended. But I go right back to Bill Burr. Bill Burr said, why is the KKK legal at all? If we outlaw white men with the hoods, then Kanye West wouldn't be able to do it. But we make it legal. So, yeah, look how much racism comes in the chat. Like, and then the racists come in the chat, and in that they make it so other people don't want to come in the chat. You know what I mean? So, but we're going to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about the first 100 days. We're going to talk about Trump's productivity. And do you believe it's the president's responsibility to uphold the Constitution? I mean, do you believe that's even possible, right? And I'm going to read to you when I asked AI what the AI felt. So let's go to what the AI. I spoke with the AI. I asked AI, is it and this seems to be a popular question today. On the internet, this seems to be a popular question today. I don't know if it's, the internet Sunday. It says, yes, it is the president's responsibility to uphold the Constitution. It's funny that it says it and it's worded that way. This is a key part of the oath of office, which requires them to faithfully execute the office and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. The president ensures the laws are faithfully executed, which includes upholding the Constitution. Now let's read that again, okay? It says, which requires them to faithfully execute and preserve, protect, and defend. I see preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Uphold is not here, because how do you, Joy the Transformer in the building, only Travis Scott is real. I want Travis Scott as the next president. Did you hear what Tucker said about J.D. Vance? So I said a lot of great things about J.D. Vance, and I was so happy to hear Tucker Carlson mention J.D. Vance in a good light, because there were some people who I respect, and they were saying that they didn't really like J.D. Vance. But remember when we were talking about J.D. Vance, Joy, and we were talking about how, just his whole story, man. He's in a mixed family. You know what I'm saying? He's 40 years old, highly intelligent, went to a PWI, just the best that America has to offer, and he's the vice president. It says a lot about the future of America, the future of the party. But I know a lot of people don't like JD Vance, but I like him, man. I do. So when we talk about, so I asked Google how. I asked Google, how does the president uphold the Constitution? And it says the president's oath explicitly states they will uphold the Constitution, but it doesn't. The weird part is it doesn't explicitly state that the president will uphold the Constitution. It absolutely doesn't. It says that the president will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. It says nothing about the president upholding the Constitution. And physically, how does a human being uphold a document, right? That's why the actual language doesn't say uphold. That's how I know that this is SEO optimized, that this question has been reconstituted after Sunday's interview, because literally you can't uphold a physical document, right? That's slang. That's a slang use of the word. You don't uphold the Constitution. You can preserve, you can protect, you can defend the laws within it, but you don't uphold it, right? Number one, you got to listen. Lately, there's been a lot of enlightenment coming back to the internet where people are talking about English as a language and what words mean, and that you need to understand, especially people who are English second language learners, that words have meaning and power behind them. And if you are watching an interview, you need to understand that KRISTEN of Meet the Press did not choose those words lightly, that sentence was pre-formatted and written to catch Donald Trump in a catch-22 when the law and what he swore to did not say uphold. The president does not swear to uphold the Constitution. I just read it to you. That's not what it says. The president's address Congress, it says, the president faithfully execute the office and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. That is what he swore to. Hand on the Bible, the president will protect, preserve, and defend, not uphold. So I know purposely that question was framed that way. So Donald Trump would say, well, how do I uphold? He said, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, because when I put my hand on the Bible, I did not swear to uphold. I swore to protect, preserve, and defend. Two very different words. When you uphold something, is very different, right? It can be interpreted many different ways. Let's go to the actual video. Let's see, because I think the president did a bang-up job. I think the president did a bang-up job. Make sure you vote as you come in. Let me know if you think the president did a good job on his Meet the Press interview. How did he do on both interviews? Go ahead and hit the thumbs up, hit the like, and answer the question. Do you think the president answered the question adequately? Do you think the president did a good job? Dry Herb Verter said, impeach Trump again. .org. Brother, thank you for coming in and having a disagreement in an adult manner. I welcome people who disagree with my content. If you could come in the chat and you can intelligently articulate your point of view, it gives me an opportunity to debate, and then people are entertained. People are entertained. So Dry Herb Verter, please tell me when Trump was impeached, and is that an official website? Go ahead and put the link in the chat if it's an official website, and please explain to us when Trump was impeached and what articles would you impeach Trump under now? Since you said impeach Trump again, under what articles of the Constitution would you hold that impeachment? Would you put that for me in the chat so we can have a discussion and intelligent debate? Thank you, brother. I needed some adults to come in here. You don't have to agree, but please cool it with the racism and the low vibrations, because right now in the globe, everybody is watching America. And it's kind of embarrassing. India, Iran, Israel, Russia, Ukraine. It's kind of embarrassing the way Americans comport themselves. You know, when I was 30 years old, I truly believed that no one could touch America. But today, after this time where we have 80% of households raised by women, and you start giving trophies to everybody, and you start telling people it's okay to be obese, yo, I'm worried about America, bro. I'm worried about America. Do we have it? You know, there was a movie when I was a kid called The Right Stuff. And I worry about America. Like, do we have the right stuff? I honestly do not believe. Dry Herb voter retracted his message. Dry Herb voter retracted his message. Hide the user. Dry Herb voter retracted it. You cannot give a compliment to the Democrats. You cannot give a compliment to the Democrats. This is what I say about our worry about our country. We cannot even disagree. You know, I look at Parliament, we haven't had a functional government in over 60 years. The Congress, they do not argue. They do not debate like the Parliament. Congress is meant for healthy, vigorous debate. So we hash out both sides of the issue and that the public gets educated. Because the end of the be-all is not the senator, not the Congress, but the public needs to be educated. So Congress is supposed to be full of healthy debate, not Jasmine Crockett with a damn wig grandstanding all goddamn day with makeup and dancing and making up songs. That's not healthy, vigorous debate. It's not good for the public. That's why I can't stand Jasmine Crockett. Let's see. Put in the chat, do y'all think Trump? Joy said, I don't know why people voted for Trump. He is mad. See? Joy disagrees with me. Fine. Joy finds a comedic way. People are entertained by that comment. I'm entertained. The audience is entertained. YouTube can run ads. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like Trump. But use your brain. Use your brain. But I know it's let's check this out. Let's check this out. Let me know what you think. Let's check this out.
Yes, because obviously you've had a back and forth with the Supreme Court. In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court directed your administration to facilitate the return. You've talked about this in the past of Gilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador, whose deportation your administration called an administrative error. You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job, because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality. I have lawyers to do that, and that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one. And they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
Well,
So let's start right there. Let's start there. See, isn't it funny how they clip up? I create content. So I know how you do this to create a narrative and to sway public opinion. You clip up the content, you clip up the video. So the video the 30-second clip you saw was not the complete clip. This is 2 minutes and 48 seconds. You saw 10 seconds of her asking about upholding a document that's not his responsibility, right? That he swore to protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution. He never swore to uphold the Constitution. She knows that. She purposely did not use the right language to get the answer, to generate the clickbait, to generate the views. Do you understand? She could have asked Donald Trump, did you swear to protect, preserve, and defend? And he would have been forced to say yes, but that would not have been clickbait. That would not have been viral. That would not have been viral. That would not have been viral. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So purposely, she misread the quote. And then when asked straight up about bringing back the MS-13 gangbanger who was beating up his wife, selling dope, and a criminal, Donald Trump said, because you know what? I'm the president. I'm not a lawyer. He's going to say this several times. I'm not a lawyer, but I hired one of the most qualified lawyers as my attorney general, I believe Pam Bondi. And he said Pam Bondi has a different interpretation than you liberal media. Do you understand? Pam Bondi is a lawyer trained in law who I appointed. Pam Bondi is a woman who is the top cop of the country. You are a woman, supposedly liberal and feminist. Why don't you listen to and believe Pam Bondi? Why are you questioning me when the job is almost anti-feminist? If you think about it, because it's disrespectful to Pam Bondi. Imagine if Trump would have answered for Pam. They would have been able to say Trump is sexist and he doesn't allow women to do their job. Why? Thank you, Trump. Come on, let's give Trump a hand. If Trump would have answered for Pam Bondi, then liberals would have been able to say Trump does not allow women to do the job that he gave them. But instead, Trump said Pam Bondi is a great lawyer and a great attorney general. She is heading up this as she should because it's her job. And I believe and have faith in Pam Bondi's decision. So I uphold Pam Bondi. I protect and defend the attorney. What you should do, Christian, let's listen to that again. That's powerful. I'm telling you, Trump is kicking major butt.
You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court, sir?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job.
I am relying on the Attorney General of the United States, who is a woman. Isn't that funny, these nuances? I am relying on the Attorney General, who is a woman. You would think Christian, the liberal media, would be happy. Number one, that Trump, the Attorney General, is a woman. Can we celebrate that? Can we celebrate because we got to demonize Trump? Trump got to be evil. Trump got to be sexist. Trump got to be racist. Trump got to be all these demonized things because we can't celebrate Pam Bondi being an intelligent woman, being an intelligent female attorney. When the last time we had a female AG? When the last time we had a female AG? Trump said the last AG we had was corrupt. Now we have a great attorney general, which happens to be a woman. Can we get a hand clap? Is America the greatest country in the world? Is Donald Trump the greatest president ever? He named a woman as the top cop. Don't that mean he has faith in women? Women's ability to have and hold executive positions? And then when asked, Trump says, I'm not going to answer for Pam. Pam is an adult and she's great at her job. That's why I gave it to her. I'm going to have her back. I'm going to have her back. You should have her back as a liberal female journalist, but you don't even have the back of people you're supposed to have a back. You a liberal feminist journalist and you trying to backdoor Pam Bondi.
Because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality. I have lawyers to do that. And that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very...
Did you hear what he said? I'm not involved in that. I'm not involved in the illegality. You want me to quote law? You want me to quote? No, I'm not a lawyer. And even lawyers, I have lawyers who specialize. You have tax attorneys, you have child support attorneys, you have trial attorneys, and you have attorneys who specialize in deportation. You have attorneys who specialize in citizenship. So you want me to quote the law of the president? No, I have attorneys. I have the DOJ. And the head of the DOJ is a woman, and she's doing a great job. Can you celebrate that, Kristen? Can we recognize that?
Very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one. And they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
Well, you say you have the power.
So the lawyers, listen. So for everybody online saying Trump is this, and the lawyers, I promise you, the people tweeting that Trump didn't do well in this interview are not lawyers. You understand what I'm saying? Trump deferred to the lawyers, and that's what we are, and that's what we should do. And Trump deferred to the experts. Trump deferred to the experts who he appointed. Shout out to Trump for that. Let's listen to the. Let's listen.
To bring him back, though, your attorney general says, quote, that's up to El Salvador. Just to put a fine point on this, do you have the power to bring Abrego Garcia back as the Supreme Court?
Well, I have the power to ask for him to come back if I'm instructed by the attorney general that it's legal to do so. But
Did you hear that? That's the first time. Great answer, Trump. Great answer. Trump said, I have the power to bring him back if the attorney general says that it's legal, but then I have to get permission from El Salvador. Do you understand? He's in El Salvador now. America can't just go into El Salvador and take out a person. Number one, he's not American. He is El Salvadorian. Hello. People have dual citizenship. Can we have a real intelligent conversation? People have dual citizenship. So now he is in El Salvador. He was not born in America. He is El Salvadorian. Even if my lawyer says we can get him back, I can't legally just go into El Salvador, put him on my back, and bring him back home. Do you understand? I can't just go in El Salvador, put him on my back, and bring him back home. We got to call the El Salvadorian president. He may have charges. He may have broke the law. We don't know if when he left El Salvador, was he a criminal? Because a lot of them leave their country when they break the law and come to America and then join MS-13. So President Trump said, I could bring him back, but it's not up to me. It's going to be up to El Salvador on whether they want to release him back to me. Because if he come back, he going to jail. He might as well just stay in jail in El Salvador. And whether or not Attorney General Pam Bondi agrees that it's legal for him to come back. Let me know in the chat, what do you think? Vote? I need you to vote in the poll. Let me know, do you think Trump did? Double tap the screen, hit the like button. Double tap the screen to hit the like button. Let me know if Trump did a good job in his Meet the Press interview.
the decision as to whether or not he should come back will be the head of El Salvador. He's a very capable man.
Well, and your attorney.
The decision on whether or not he comes back is up to the head of El Salvador, who is a very capable man. Do we know if he was a criminal in El Salvador? Do we know it? Does he owe tax? Think about that. You don't just get to leave your country. Does he owe taxes in El Salvador? Does he owe child support in El Salvador? Does he owe back rent in El Salvador? Why would El Salvador let a Salvadorian citizen who fled the country, who left as a criminal in debt, just go to America and then leave everything again? Great answer, Trump. Great answer. Whether or not he comes back is not up to me. It's up to the leader of El Salvador and Pam Bondi. That is the way you delegate. This is a CEO and a billionaire. He knows how to be an executive. Do you know when we be having a presidential election and people be saying, well, I don't know if Kamala Harris could be president. I don't know if this person could be president. Why? Because they haven't had any executive experience. You need to be a governor of a state. You need to be a head of $1 billion company to come in and be president, because you need to have the ability to delegate to people with the talent. And that's what Trump has done very well in his second term. In his second term, what Trump has done extremely well that they haven't commented about the first 100 days, as he has delegated excellently. He chose J.D. Vance. He chose Pam Bondi. Now, I'm not going to mention Heggie, baby. Hey, y'all know Pete. Y'all know Pete got reassigned. Hey, Pete Hegseth got reassigned. We love you, Pete. Hey, Pete, we love you, Pete Hegseth. Pete got 7 kids. Pete been married 3 times. Hey, Pete, man, no more group chats. Everybody in the president, hey, no more. Hey, I need a t-shirt. Anybody love me, watch my content. No more group chats. No more group chats. Come on, man. Back to the interview. Meet the Press, Sunday, Trump versus KRISTEN. Who you think won? Did Trump do a good job? First 100 days, has Trump been productive? Let me know in the chat. Vote in the poll. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Perks on the podcast. America first. Let's go, baby.
Attorney General has said the issue is with that word facilitate. Will you seek clarification from the Supreme Court? Do you need to go back to the Supreme
We
Court?
may do that. I was asking about that. We may do that.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. Some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here.
Amen.
And the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even...
Amen. Amen. So let's talk about the liberal logic. Do y'all understand the liberal logic that's been driving me mad? The liberal logic, and this is the thing. So everybody, so on the liberal side, they are thinking, hey, they're laughing at the conservative Republicans thinking that we got hoodwinked, right? Oh, Trump is doing tariffs. Did he tell you, yes, we want tariffs. Yes, we want to get rid of globalization. Yes, we voted for everything Trump is doing. But listen to the liberal logic that, and I think who really hoodwinked the American people are the Democrats, liberals, that Biden administration, Kamala Harris, and everyone who blindly supported. Because this is the liberal logic in 2025. When your kids, I just saw a report that whites, college graduates, unemployment rate is going up. The unemployment rate for white college graduates is going up. And that directly relates to 20 million illegal immigrants coming into the country. So listen to the Democrat logic. The Democrat logic is Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democrats and the liberals illegally, listen to this, illegally open the borders. Today, the conversation is about Trump upholding the Constitution. But what about Biden opening the borders? Was that upholding the Constitution? I'll wait. Was that upholding the Constitution? Can anybody put that in the chat? When Biden and Kamala Harris opened the borders and 20 million illegal aliens came in, was that upholding the Constitution? All right. Now listen to this logic, this flawed liberal logic. The liberals say those 20 million people that we illegally let into the country, since they're here, they get due process. Get the fuck out of here. Shut the front door. Shut the front door. I don't see, this is the problem when they dumb down the public. It's not enough intelligent people talking about this conversation. Because I don't think enough people understand what the Democrats are saying. When they say all this 10 million going to court. The liberals say the 20 million people who came here when Joe Biden opened the border somehow, even though they didn't come here through legal, proper channels, now are entitled to due process. Can someone explain to me in the chat how you break into a house illegally to rob my house, but now you want due process? No, I'm going to shoot and kill you. You broke in my house. You trying to rob and hurt my family, you don't get due process. You broke in the house. You illegally entered the house. Please explain the logic where people who came here illegally, they did not go through the legal process of coming into the country, which would grant them due process. This is why you need to come into the country the right way. You need to come in the country the right way so you get due process, so you get to go to court. It's a real ID deadline. May 7th is the real ID deadline. You can't fly on the plane without a real ID. But in 19 states, to everybody who's mad about the real ID, you can't fly on the plane May 7th. The law been in effect for 20 years. It's not Trump. Trump didn't create the real ID law, but I'm glad he's enforcing it. Because in 19 states, including the state that I live in, including the state Mike Waltz, tampon bathroom Mike Waltz, soft ass, illegals can get a driver's license. Yeah, if you came into the country and you did not go through the proper legal process in California, Gavin Newsom says you can still get a driver's license. I know black men and white men who got child support who can't get a driver's license. But Gavin Newsom said, even if your mama wasn't born here, you never went to World War I or II, Gavin Newsom said you can get a driver's license and you can get a job before a black man or a white man in California. You know, in California, it's a prison. You know, we got a big prison system. So you got blacks and whites. So blacks and whites mingle together in California. We go to prison together. So we might have a felony, we might have a charge, we might have child support. I might see my white brother at court. Me and him both got child support and no driver's license. But Gavin Newsom said, if you came here and you didn't go through the proper legal channels, you still get a driver's license. What the Republicans worry about, this is what I said when Biden let all these people come in. Biden let all these people come in, which was not constitutional. Please put a pin in that. That was not constitutional. Then Biden shipped them to states, sanctuary cities. Y'all remember that? Sanctuary cities, which was not constitutional. There is no sanctuary city in the Constitution. Since we having a talk about constitutionality, liberal media, where's sanctuary city in the Constitution? Ain't it funny how the liberal media play in your face? But you got to be smart enough. You can't be a stupid troll. There's so many stupid trolls in my chat. So many stupid trolls on YouTube. And you don't understand when the media is playing in your face. The Democrats shit on the Constitution. Every day, Joe Biden took a big diarrhea shit on the Constitution. Not once was he asked. Even today, they shit on the Constitution by even implying that those millions of people that Biden let in get to have due process. No, they get the fuck out, and we elected Trump to get them the fuck out. So think about this. This is what that liberal Democratic media personality didn't tell you. How much would it cost? How much did it cost? So Biden brought these people in. Biden put them in sanctuary cities. Biden used your tax dollars to pay for hotels. If it were not for Doge, hotels in New York were about to get another $1 million payment. Doge stopped the theft. Donald Trump stopped the theft. If it were not for Doge, hotels in New York were going to get another $1 million payment of tax money to pay for housing for people who came here not through the proper process. Doge said no. They got to go home. They can't have no more taxpayer money. Now think about this. Taxpayer money to bring them here. Taxpayer money to keep them here. And then the liberal Democrats say they get to go to court. Taxpayer money. Due process is expensive. One of the things crippling states like California and Atlanta, Georgia, when you hear about Georgia in the prison being overcrowded 4 times, due process is expensive. Atlanta needs more sheriffs. Atlanta needs more places to house, but they can't afford it. Due process, when we had not Abu Ghraib, but what, Guantanamo Bay. Why was it so many people and not enough guards? It costs money. Due process is expensive. Are the liberal Democrats suggesting that we spend now billions of dollars to put millions of illegal aliens through a due process system that was designed by the forefathers for American citizens? Why would we spend the money? We gave them $15,000 a month EBT. We paid millions of dollars in hotels. Now you want us to spend billions of dollars on them going to court? They're not citizens. How much money, liberals? How much money, Democrats? How much money, Spend that money on Americans. This interview hasn't been broken down by anyone intelligent. This interview hasn't been broken down by anyone intelligent. Donald Trump did an excellent job. He deferred to the AG, which is a woman. If Donald Trump would have answered for Pam Bondi, they would have called him sexist. He deferred to the AG, and he put it back on the liberal media. You want to have 10 million court cases. 10 million court cases add up to $1 billion in taxpayer money when the taxpayers already paid for hotels, food, clothing, and now you want the taxpayers to pay for due process that they are not entitled to get them out the country. You guys are crazy. The Democrats and liberals are crazy, bro. They're absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous.
Even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as
I
president?
don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the.
So do you understand when they said uphold the Constitution, they were talking about illegal aliens. And I know the algorithm keeps shutting me down because they don't like when you say illegal aliens. But what term should I use? Illegal immigrants? It's bullshit the way they make you say certain things and then they dumb down the debate. They dumb down the debate because the algorithm, even though people, more than this amount of people are watching, the algorithm, when I say illegal aliens, will dumb it down. But I need the audience to understand when they say he needs to uphold the Constitution, she's not referring to American citizens. When Donald Trump shuts down billions of dollars going to Harvard, he's supporting the Constitution and American citizens. He is not required to uphold constitutional norms for people who are not American citizens. And I don't think anyone has intelligently broken down this back and forth. That KRISTEN is suggesting that the president is not knowledgeable about the Constitution because he did not answer that people who came here illegally were entitled to due process. Why is the president required to say that anybody and everybody, even if you're not an American citizen, is entitled to being held to the Constitution? That's not true, you guys. Do you understand that this was about illegal aliens? When she said uphold the Constitution, she wasn't referring to you and me. Do you get that? I don't think a lot of people understand that. I just don't think people get it.
Supreme Court said. What you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation.
Is anyone in your administration right now in contact with El Salvador about returning Abrego Garcia to
I
the
don't
United
know. You'd have to ask the Attorney General that question.
That's her
Thanks
job.
for watching. Stay updated.
You have to ask the Attorney General. That was a great answer. You have to ask the Attorney General. I'm not going to do the Attorney General's job. If I did, you would call me sexist. If I answer for Pam Bondi, you would call me sexist. Let's watch it through the entirety, through the whole way through.
Obviously, you've had a back and forth with the Supreme Court. In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court directed your administration to facilitate the return. You've talked about this in the past of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador, whose deportation your administration called an administrative error. You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court, sir?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job, because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality. I have lawyers to do that, and that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one. And they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
Well, you say you have the power to bring them back, though. Your attorney general says, quote, that's up to El Salvador. Just to put a fine point on this, do you have the power to bring Abrego Garcia back as the Supreme Court?
Well, I have the power to ask for him to come back if I'm instructed by the attorney general that it's legal to do so. But the decision as to whether or not he should come back will be the head of El Salvador. He's a very capable man.
Well, you know, and your attorney general has said the issue is with that word facilitate. Will you seek clarification from the Supreme Court? Do you need to go back to the Supreme Court?
We may do that. I was asking about that. We may do that.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
Do you agree that everyone is, that's the Democrat logic. Did you hear that? I'm gonna replay it. That everyone that is here deserves due process. So Biden, y'all didn't see Biden. The Democrats really screwed us, bro. Biden really screwed us. So when this was happening, we warned you guys. We warned you that the Democrats was going to try to use this. So what she just said is that all those people, when Biden opened the border, then they put Kamala Harris as the border czar to close the border. Oh, we made a mistake. Remember that? Kamala Harris, that's why she lost. Kamala Harris was supposed to be the border czar. They were supposed to close the border. First, Biden opens the borders, which was not constitutional. Hello? When we talk about constitutionality, Biden opens the borders. Then they realize, hey, too many people are coming. We can't afford this. The American people are not happy. Kamala Harris gets appointed as border czar to close the borders. She fails. She gives up. The border is overran for 2 years. 20 million people come in. Listen to what KRISTEN says. After this is the facts. They illegally, against the Constitution, opened the border. They tried to close the border. Kamala Harris couldn't get the job done. The border got overran for 2 years. Everybody in the country elected Trump. Over 80% of the people voted for Trump because we wanted him to close the border and stop our country from getting robbed. Now, the liberal media says, after all the mistakes Biden made, opening up the border, which was unconstitutional, all the mistakes Kamala Harris made as the fake border czar, now the liberal media is saying all those people that came in via those Democrat mistakes get due process. We already spent billions of dollars on housing and food. The liberal media and Democrats wants to spend billions of dollars on processing millions of people through a system that they are not in. Listen. Come on.
And your attorney general has said the issues with that word facilitate. Will you seek clarification from the Supreme Court? Do you need to go back to the Supreme Court?
We may do that. I was asking about that. We may do that.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
Let's ask the chat. Let's ask, do you agree? I want to know from the chat. I'm going to go do a poll right now. Do you think everybody here deserves due process? Whether or not you're a citizen or you are a citizen, whether you came here through right. Imagine the people who spent all the money and time and effort to get their child here. Do you know, I live in San Francisco. Some people watching live in New York. I know families that go through a lot, man. It's difficult. They go downtown, they spend money, they don't break the law. He trying to bring his wife into America and do it the legal way. It's very difficult. He's trying to bring his daughter into the country the legal way. It's very difficult. Sometimes at work, we might have a potluck because I work in IT. So a lot of the people I work with are in a situation where half of the family's here, half of the family somewhere else, and they are trying with all of their money and all of their efforts to get their family member into the country legally. So how do we say, as Americans who believe in fair and righteousness, how do I say to my colleague at work who's spending all his money, who's spending all his prayers to get his wife here legally, and then so that she could be a legal American citizen, and then Biden, against the Constitution, illegally brings in all these people, and then they get rights that his wife can't have. He's here paying taxes. He's here doing everything right. He wants to bring his wife here so she could pay taxes and follow the law. But the Democrats have said, nah, You don't get to bring in your wife. Fuck you. People who cheated get to have the benefits and rights that you should have. So think about the lot. It's so many ways to look at this. The liberals and the Democrats want you to focus on people who are legally here. But what about people who are doing the right thing? This is what the Democrats and liberals forgot about for 4 years. What about everybody that works hard and does the right thing? What about everybody that actually pays taxes? Is it fair to people who are right now praying that their wife gets into the country legally? Is it fair to them? I don't think it's fair to them, but she doesn't articulate that when she is saying to the president, does everybody get due process? I want to know. I'm going to put up a poll right now. We're going to end the last poll. Does everybody get due process? 78% of the people said Trump did good on his interview. I agree. So let's start a new poll. Does everybody here do you believe everybody here should get due process? Do you believe everyone in America gets due process? Whether they came here legally or not. And how much is that going to cost? Y'all go vote right now. Do you believe everyone in America gets due process, legal or illegal? I need y'all to vote for me right now, and I need y'all to double tap the screen, hit the like button. Double tap the screen, hit the like button. Deborah Cook, no for illegals. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Deborah. Good to see you, sister. No for illegals. I agree. Because what does it say to my friend who came here, who had to become a PhD? He works in IT. He's not a doctor anymore. But in order for him to be accepted into America, he was a PhD in his country. He worked with America. He worked with American soldiers. He had a record for working for an American contractor for 10 years. He was a PhD, and he got to come to America. But his wife couldn't come, but he's applying for his wife to come legally. How do I explain to my coworker who went through all this trouble? He was a PhD. He never got he wasn't in the gang, never. We talking about somebody in MS-13. My colleague was a PhD in his country. He worked with American contractors for 10 years. He had to go through all this to come to America. But someone who flees his country as a gang member, Joe Biden said, yeah, you could come here. Joe Biden said, yeah, you could come here. That's what Joe Biden said. Joe Biden said, if you were a gang member, you could come here. And now we're having a discussion about someone who beat up his wife. Do y'all know we're having a discussion about someone who's a wife beater? Diddy Puff can't even get a bail. And we want to bring someone back to the country. This is so perverted. What happened to toxic masculinity? What happened to Me Too? He's a wife beater. He's a wife beater. I don't understand. Y'all tell me. I need y'all to vote. Oh, we froze up. We froze up. Is we back? We froze up for a second, y'all. Guess we got to reconnect. As we reconnect, and we almost made it to an hour. Come on, man. Bring us back. Bring me back. Bring me back. I'm frozen now. Come on, bring me back. I'm frozen. Can you hear me? Everybody leaving. Bring me back. Everybody leaving. Bring me back. Oh, you can hear me. Everybody leaving. Bring me back. Oh, you can hear me. Everybody leaving. Bring me back. Oh, you can hear me. That audio is horrible, though. Damn, that's how the audio sound, y'all. Well, thank you to everybody who's been watching. I didn't know the audio was that bad. I can hear you. Okay. Thank you, Deborah. Let's go to the my next discussion point. Did y'all know we have one more clip, and then we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about I don't know what else we're gonna talk about. Let's go to this other clip. We got another clip.
Whoa.
Tires, strollers,
This is such a dishonest interview already.
prices are already
You hear this? Oh, okay. Trump versus KRISTEN, and then we're gonna talk about the tariffs and shit like that. Damn, man, come on.
going up on some popular items.
Whoa.
Tires, strollers.
This is such a dishonest interview already. Prices are down on groceries. Prices are down for oil. Prices are down for all energy. Prices are down at tremendous numbers for gasoline. And let me tell you, when you have the big thing, what he did, he spent like a stupid person, which he was, but he spent like a very stupid person. And that was bad for inflation. But what really killed us with inflation was the price of energy.
And Donald Trump did not stop there, calling out KRISTEN Welker for not just her questions, but the fact that they constantly fail to acknowledge any positives.
The media is so fake, including, like even the way you ask questions. Every question is asked in a negative vein. There's a toy company that took the toddlers, whatever. But you don't talk about the fact that gasoline is down at numbers that nobody believes possible. You know why they're down, by the way? Drill, baby, drill. We're drilling like crazy right now.
We try to make sure every question is fair, Mr. President.
Look, every question you ask says a very negative slant.
No, but look, I'm just curious.
I'm fine for responding to you. I don't think you're very difficult at all to respond to be honest with you. But you know what? You should ask some positive things like, sir, it's amazing what you've done with gasoline. Because you know what? Gasoline's big business. A stroller is not big business.
Now, I'm not criticizing journalists.
Gasoline is big business, and strollers is not big business. He said, you have a very negative slant. Thank you, President Trump. I love the way Trump don't take no shit. He said, this interview has been very dishonest. He said, from the beginning, you have been very dishonest. Why haven't you said anything positive? Just to be fair and balanced. As a journalist, when you go to a doctor or a dentist, as a journalist, your job is to be fair and balanced. That's part of what is like, it's part of an oath in journalism to be fair and balanced. I'll ask the people listening, do you believe Meet the Press and KRISTEN was fair and balanced in their assessment of Donald Trump's first 100 days? Now, keep in mind, all the podcasts we've done, all the views, Trump has 4 years. There's 365 days in a year. It's only been 100 days. So how many days are in 4 years, y'all? You signed a car, it's 72 months. So can somebody do the math? 365 times 4. How many days are in 4 years? 365 times 4. 1,460 days. We talking about the first 100 days, and the president has got 1,400. I'm telling you, if you are anti-Trump, you are shitting a brick. I'm going to tell you. Because Trump has got so much done in 100 days, and he has over 1,300 days left to go. If you are upset in 2025 or whatever, you are hurting.
Asking tough questions, but why is it that when Joe Biden was in power, he was essentially given a free pass, and the mainstream media was complicit in the cover-up, trying to convince you that he somehow was not suffering from cognitive decline? And as we showed you last week, looking at the coverage of Donald Trump's first 100 days, the data shows it was 92% negative on NBC, ABC, and CBS.
Exactly. 92% negative. That's the narrative. That's why I say on my channel is counter narrative. I'm positive. I'm pro-Trump. I believe being pro-Trump, pro-president is being pro-American.
No surprises there. Yet Biden's coverage was 59% positive on the same networks. And just while we're on Joe Biden, it's been revealed today that White House advisors.
So Joe Biden coverage was 59% positive, and the same network is 92% negative for Trump. It should be illegal. It don't even sound like America, right? It sounds like counter America. It sounds like communist. It's like communist state media, right?
We're considering giving him a cognitive test to prove his fitness for a second term, okay, but ultimately decided against it. The book, 2024, How Trump Retook the White House and the Democrats Lost America by Tyler Pager of the New York Times, Josh Jarzi of the Wall Street Journal.
So I was waiting for the channel to come back. I don't know what happened. They got us frozen still.
It was the price of energy.
And Donald Trump did not.
So yeah, they got us frozen still. Did you guys know, I want to share a couple things with you. I saw India is doing mock drills for the first time since 1971. So I know y'all been hearing about Iran and Israel. Some things quietly have occurred where Israel has said and voted that they're gonna take Gaza and basically kill all the Palestinians in Gaza. And I mean, that's quietly happening. So that, and I believe, I don't know if Iran and other people are going to stand by while that happens. So what we have going on right now is we got some real shit going on in the globe. India hasn't done any type of military drill since 1971. So today I saw India doing mock drills for the first time since 1971. So why would India be doing war drills? And they got a commercial. They had a commercial telling their people what to do if the siren goes off, and how you supposed to, help your neighbor and all this stuff. So I don't know if you guys heard about that. I wish my video was working, but we frozen. So I'm gonna play the video and you guys could listen to it and tell me what you think. It says the measures must be adopted.
Responding to air raid alarms. Blackout.
Responding to air raid alarms and blackout action plan. Now remember, Spain, Portugal, and Germany and France lost power. I talked about it, but it was not on the liberal media. What I brought up is, how is it? This is the research and the discussion we had on my channel. How are several major NATO European countries all having a blackout at the same time? I said, are they all sharing the same power grid and source? So that was the research we did on this channel. And what we found is, yes, there is an island power station that has power lines going to several NATO European countries. If somebody was to simply take out this island, they would effectively put half of Europe and NATO countries in the blackout. NATO. Now, what was not discussed during the blackout is NATO. NATO. Why do I keep saying NATO? Because we're about to go into India doing drills for a war. What kind of war? Probably a war. So listen, if NATO countries have a blackout, what did they lose? Did they lose power over the missile defense system? Did they lose power? Because we were worried about the nuclear reactors, right? When Spain, Portugal, France, and Germany had the power outage, we were worried about nuclear reactors. So what about military defense systems? Is the grid set up for for a blackout and how would military defense work? And these are major NATO countries. We're talking about Germany, major NATO countries, Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, places where they have military defense, missiles, nuclear. What happened to those systems during the blackout? What would happen to those systems in an extended blackout? So India has a video in English because India speaks English. You know, Christmas is bigger in India than it is in America. Did you guys know that? I work in tech. I work with Indian people. They tell me Indian English is their first language because of the colonization. So Indians speak English and they celebrate Christmas. So this is the video they created for their people to prepare them for a blackout action plan. Right now, think about this. After Spain, Portugal, France, who else? Spain, Portugal, France, and Germany have this blackout. Shouldn't America have a similar blackout action plan if our power grid is attacked? Shouldn't America have a similar blackout action plan if our power grid, we already know our power grids are compromised. I explained to you in California, we have something called rolling brownouts, where you, like in this video, they're telling people to be prepared for blackouts. In California, they already have the public prepared for what they like to call brownouts, for when the power grid is being overworked in the summertime, they have to forcibly cut off power. This is in existence currently in California. I don't know what exists in your state, but currently in California, our power grid cannot service the amount of Californians that we have. That's right now today. I have to have backup water and power because in California, when it gets to be 115 degrees, I may lose power in what is called a brownout because the power grid cannot handle everyone in California having on the air condition. So let's listen to the Indian people's action plan for air raid. Air raid meaning we're being bombed. Air raids meaning we're being bombed and there is a blackout. Sayab said there are different levels of due process to the best of my knowledge. That's a great observation. And I believe if you listen to the way the president answered the question, it sounds like Donald is open to the interpretation of Pam Bondi and the Attorney General and what level of due process these individuals will receive. I mean, I think he did a great job in that interview. By deferring to Pam Bondi, who is a woman, and the Attorney General. See, look, that is what should have happened with Kamala Harris. Hey, Joe Biden, what's going on with the border? When Joe Biden deferred to Kamala Harris, which he did, does anybody remember? I remember. Joe Biden deferred to Kamala Harris on the border because he had appointed Kamala Harris border czar. This ankle-weighted her in her election campaign because when she tried to deny it, we all brought up video of the president deferring to Kamala Harris. In the same fashion, Donald Trump just deferred to Pam Bondi, Attorney General. Let's listen to this video.
Action plan. When life feels peaceful, families dining, children playing, markets buzzing, it's easy to forget how fragile that peace is. At the moment an air raid siren pierces the calm, everything changes. India's safety doesn't begin at the border. It begins with you. When you hear the siren, act fast. Turn off all lights, fans, and appliances. Draw the curtains. Shut the windows. Even a single spark can guide the enemy. This isn't panic. This is preparedness. The strength of a nation that knows how to protect its own. Teach your children what to do. A child pulls the curtain. A teen helps their grandparents turn off the lights. A family sits in silence, calm, composed, ready. Across the city, the spirit awakens. Volunteers check rooftops for light leaks. Women check on elderly neighbors. Soldiers at the border, calm, alert, unwavering. This is India. Every home, a fortress. Every citizen, a shield. In darkness, we don't hide, we unite. From cities to villages, a quiet blackout spreads. Not out of fear, but love. Love for country, love for each other, and belief that in every test, India stands tall. Stay calm, stay strong. We belong to India. India belongs to us.
So that's kind of scary, bro. India, it says from the government of India, and basically it's telling their people what to do if these sirens go off. So they're anticipating they may face some type of bombing. And what they're telling their people to do is cut off all the lights. If the bombing starts, cut off all the lights, close the doors, close the curtains. They said because one light could give the enemy a target. So not only are they, think about what happened in Israel, because warfare, as we in America say, oh, don't protest Israel. I don't know what side you come down on Israel. But what you got to understand is that warfare has been changed. I like Eric Weinstein and some intelligent people have been, you saw Doug and you saw Dave Matthews debate on Joe Rogan. But what you need to understand is that warfare has changed with this conflict in Israel and the way people fight wars. So India is preparing non-combatants because what we saw in Israel is that the framework of war has changed and non-combatants have become fair play. Because India is saying that regular, everyday grandmothers and children need to be prepared and need to be worried. Because whatever conflict is coming, they will not just target military sites, which was the agreed upon terms. Now, people bomb everything. People bomb cities. People bomb houses. People bomb churches and hospitals. They come up with creative excuses of why they need to bomb churches and hospitals, but that is the new normal. This is what I extrapolate from the video. Why do you need to prepare grandmothers and mothers and wives and children if the agreed upon terms in war is that you would only target military installations, which are missiles, and then you would get people to come to an agreement at a table? Why do you need to prepare Indian everyday civilians in 2025 for an air raid? It's very scary. It's very scary when you think about it from the perspective, the way I think about things. I mean, we know what's going on in Iran. We know what's going on in Israel. We know what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. Let me play you something about the Houthis. Let me play you something about the Houthis. Let me play you something about the Houthis. Donald Trump made a statement about the Houthis in Yemen. Today, he had a meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister. And I want to let Donald Trump talk about, he made a comment on, Donald Trump been doing big things. So they mentioned the Houthis being bombed, but they didn't tell you why. So the Houthis have been bombing, like the United States is the police of the world, right? And that's why you could have globalization. What do you mean globalization, Perfect? Where you could have people shipping things across the world. You understand what I mean? Where you could have people, the only reason you're allowed to have people shipping things across the world is because you have the American military protecting these boats that ship things globally. And without the American military, these boats would get blew up and robbed. So when they talk about the tariffs, that's one thing that gets left out of the tariff conversation, is that The only way that they were allowed to even
That they are not, or they've been
the tariff conversation is very complex because it's not just about tariffs. It's the fact that China not only got rich off of the tariffs and NAFTA and globalization, but globalization, if you understand it, was also money, money and lives, and technology spent on aircraft carriers and the best military in the globe to protect people in order to travel and converse, in order to have trade that facilitated globalization. You needed the police. So we were the police of the globe. We talking about colonizer. We talking about imperial type shit. The imperial stormtroopers. We you know what I'm saying? Palpatine. That was America for the past 50 years. These third world countries, which was never would have been able to proliferate and grow in the way that they did, they owe us a thank you, if you want to be honest. It wasn't just NAFTA. It wasn't just our factories and cheap labor. It was the fact that America went into the business of war. We ain't gonna make TVs no more. China could make the TVs, right? And then China will give them to us cheaper because we make aircraft carriers, and we are going to protect the ships that will bring us cheap goods. So that is what America did. America went into the business of war, and we built the biggest and strongest army so no one could fuck with us, and that other small countries around the world could do our labor and give us cheap goods. How did the cheap goods get here? We facilitated that trade. That is a part of globalization that hasn't been discussed. I haven't heard it discussed. You hear about the tariffs and how the perverted tariffs benefited other countries, but what about how that trade was facilitated? When you hear about the Houthis blowing up shit, and then you remember the movie with the African pirates, we don't know how much piracy occurs. But if you work as a longshoreman, or if you work in shipping and logistics, then you know about how much actual piracy still occurs. And how much piracy would occur if it were not for America's vast and prolific military. Aircraft carrier. Remember I was telling you about Mexico don't have no aircraft carriers? Let's listen to what Donald Trump has been able to accomplish in Yemen with the Houthis.
We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that. And we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated. But more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore. And that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news. We just found out about that. So I think that's very, very positive. They were knocking out a lot of ships going, as you know, sailing beautifully down the various seas. It wasn't just the canal. It was a lot of other places. And I will accept their word, and we are going to stop the bombing of the Houthis, effective immediately. And Marco, you'll let everybody know that.
So, effective immediately, the Houthis have come to the agreement table. This should be an example for other leaders. I'm not going to say no names because I don't want to get the channel in trouble. But this should be an example to other world leaders of how this shit is supposed to go. The Houthis were blowing up ships. That's why I just went into the diatribe of explaining to you another extension of globalization and what America did in globalization. The Houthis were disrupting trade. That's a good way, and that's a traditional way of fighting a proxy war, is to disrupt trade. Going back to the Civil War and disputes with the Native Americans, one faith, you can go after power grids and you disrupt trade. These are things that you do. The Houthis were blowing up ships trying to disrupt trade. You follow me? Donald Trump and our administration, let's not say Donald Trump, let's say America, because Donald Trump is the president and the leader of America. America, who is the police of the world, asked the Houthis to stop. They would not stop blowing up ships and disrupting trade. So America decided to bomb the Houthis in an effort to get them to stop blowing up ships and disrupting trade. Because our job is the global police. We don't make TVs anymore. We're the global police. So Donald Trump just announced that the Houthis have come to the agreement table and have agreed to stop bombing ships, i.e., disrupting trade and commerce. And Donald Trump just announced that we're no longer bombing the Houthis because the Houthis have agreed to no longer interrupt trade and commerce. That's the way you do things. You don't keep a conflict going for 2 years. You don't try to take over the country. You don't try to blow up hospitals and say there's people hiding under the hospital and the church. You go to the leaders of the country. You tell them we have a conflict. You explain the conflict. You tell them if you do not come to a resolution, I'm going to bomb you until we come to a resolution. Donald Trump and America bombed the Houthis. The Houthis just came to the table and said, we agree. They didn't say we're going to give, think about this. They didn't say we're going to give up no guns. They didn't say we're going to stop doing this or we're going to stop doing that. They didn't say YSL is a gang. They didn't say nothing. They didn't agree. All they said was, we agree to stop blowing up the ships. Donald Trump said, what we asked for initially was for the Houthis to no longer blow up these ships because they have begun to disrupt trade and commerce. The Houthis have agreed to stop doing that. So Trump and the American administration is not saying, well, we want this now, or we going to do this now, or we going to blow up the whole country. Do you understand my point here? You understand my logic? That's the way you handle something. That's the way for everybody saying Trump is evil. Trump wants to be king. Then why did he come to this quick resolution with the Houthis? Why is it not expanding into something bigger? Huh? Do you know the rest of the globe will see the way Trump is handling tariffs and handling conflict? Because everybody benefits from trade and commerce. So other global leaders will see how he handled the conflict with the Houthis. And they will look at him favorably. Because they make money when it's safe to ship and do global commerce. These other countries make money. So him getting the Houthis to no longer bomb trade ships benefits everybody. That's true globalization. If y'all want to know what the business of America is, that's what the business of America has been. And onshoring manufacturing says, like Obama said, that we no longer are going to be the police of the world. So when people get scared, when China and everybody, it's all bluff. It's all blunder because it's deeper than the tariffs. It's not just saying that we're going to manufacture our own goods. It's saying that we're no longer going to protect your ability to be who you are. If you want to trade and ship things globally, you're going to have to protect those ships yourself. And China doesn't have the ability to do that. China is not a global empire like America and Europe. So it's deeper than the tariffs. This conversation don't get talked about. It's deeper than the tariffs. China needs us more than just the tariffs and taxes. China needs America to be the police. China needs America to bomb the Houthis and tell Africans stop being pirates. That's what China needs from America. China is saying, let me build the TV. Let me make the cell phone. That's not your job no more. You don't make the cell phone. You don't make the TV. Let me make the cell phone. I got the factory. You make war. America, just tell American people what their job is. Y'all don't make TVs no more. Y'all make war. Y'all kill people. Just explain to the American people the truth and let the American people make their decision. America, we don't make TVs no more. We make war. Now, what has happened in America is we have been at war for the past 20 years. Y'all remember that speech that Obama gave? We were at two wars, Iraq war and Afghanistan war. You know, sometimes I sit and I talk with my wife and I try to explain to her about global geopolitics. And one of the things we talk about that I like to talk to her about is about Rambo and Sylvester Stallone and political war movies and propaganda. And I told her the first movie was called First Blood. And my wife was born, she's young, so the first movie wasn't even called Rambo. The first movie was called First Blood. And you know, a lot of us know Rambo 2, Rambo 3, but you might not know, if you're young, a whole Rambo series and Sylvester Stallone. So I explained to her one day, I said, do you know why Sylvester Stallone and the studios even made First Blood with the whole archetype of First Blood? And there were several movies in the same archetype as First Blood. And I explained it to her because I was telling her about her father, who she loves. She loves her father. So I was explaining to her about her father and her father's generation, about why men like her father existed. So I was explaining to her the first movie was actually First Blood. And it was created because at the time when I was a child, there were a lot of men, a lot of white men and black men who had went to Vietnam. And Vietnam wasn't classified as a war. So my fathers and uncles, her father and her uncles, you know, were in the Bay Area. And you hear about gangs, you hear about crack cocaine, but the ability to speak about it intelligently the way I am today is going to be lost because there's an age gap, there's a generational gap. So what you don't hear about when we talk about gangs and crack cocaine and the CIA is you don't hear about Vietnam. You don't hear about these soldiers coming back to America and not having rights and access to the VA. So they weren't veterans. They came back to America after being in a war, including John McCain, rest in peace, who was a prisoner in Vietnam. So everybody hears about Vietnam, and you hear today it's called the Vietnam War. But when I was a child, it wasn't the Vietnam War. So and my uncles and my fathers, they came back and they were forced to go to crime because they did not have access to wealth and jobs, and they could not get treatment for their PTSD. So, you know, they gave them drugs. They had Agent Orange, they gave them drugs. There was all this stuff going on in Vietnam that they wanted to keep quiet. And these men came back and they couldn't access help, right? So First Blood, the movie, was created during the time where these men used to march. POWs used to march in Washington, D.C. They used to get arrested. They used to get beat up. They used to get spit on. There was a time where the world did not respect the veterans from Vietnam, and they had to march. They would march for their rights, and they tried to get politicians on their side and say, can you change Vietnam to a war so all of these Americans can get benefits, because there's so many Americans who are going crazy, suffering from PTSD. These people became your fathers. These people is the reason why we got so many kids on opiates, but they don't tell this part of the story. So these men were allowed to be sick, a lot of white men and black men, because at this time in the country, you didn't have a lot of these other races. So the people who got affected by this, ain't it a trip how they divide whites and blacks, but we got so much in common that's unique that other people can't speak to because they weren't in the country yet. They didn't have these things happen to them, like slavery, like these type of military abuses. So white and black men came back from Vietnam and were sick and didn't get the help they needed. So they protested for years. Nobody would help them. Nobody would listen to them. Vietnam was not classified a war for like 20 years. We could look it up. How long did it take them to classify Vietnam as a war? I'm gonna look it up right now because a lot of people was young. How long did it take to classify Vietnam as a war? Man, it won't come up. And I know it. It took about 20 years for the conflict in Vietnam to be solidified as a war in the public consciousness. The period from 1954 to 1975 when the conflict escalated. That's not what I'm asking. They don't even say it right. Right? So they keep saying Vietnam War, but it wasn't a war at first. No, the Vietnam War was not technically a war under U.S. constitutional law because Congress never formally declared war on either North Vietnam or the Viet Cong. That is very relevant when we talk about like Iraq and Iran. Congress did authorize the deployment of troops through Gulf of Tonkin. No, the United States never officially declared war on Vietnam while Congress organized the, okay. It won't answer the question, y'all. Oh man. However, there has been issues with eligibility. Oh man, they won't answer the question. It was a long time where POWs did not get veteran benefits. It's funny how the internet, y'all should be afraid of how the internet works. So it was a long time. It was a long time before the veterans of people from Vietnam got their VA benefits. And the movie First Blood was created as propaganda to get them their benefits. John Rambo was a Vietnam vet that did not get their benefits. He went back to Nam in the movie because people were still captured years after the conflict. So not only were people left there, think about how we left. Think about how we left Afghanistan when we talk about this Vietnam thing. So the reason I bring this up is that we were in two wars. I went into all of that because I like to talk to my wife about history, and I was just teaching her about how there was a time in this country where these men did not get their VA rights because the like I read to you, Congress never declared war, so these men weren't actually veterans for a long time. They didn't get their VA rights. They eventually got their VA benefits, and right now, it won't even allow us to search Google and actually find. It won't even allow us to search Google and find where the actual truth that I'm trying to share with you guys about the facts that they didn't have any benefits. So we were in two wars in Iraq and Afghanistan at the same time. So we have become fatigued, as it were, to my point and perspective of us being warmongers. So that's why it's not just the tariffs, it's not just deglobalization, it's the fact that America as an apparatus, as a people, as a country has become fatigued in the ability to be this war horse for the entire globe. It's much deeper than the liberal media. The liberal media would have you think that they would just drive us into like slaves into oblivion, continue working us this war horse until the horse passes the fuck out. That's what I think the liberals want. Continue to work like a slave until you die. And Trump is trying to save the American people, even though the American people do not understand because they never told you what you are. They didn't tell you that you're a war horse, that your job is as a warrior to protect the globe. Globalization means you have the biggest army and that you have the biggest dick. That's what globalization really meant. Globalization meant we're not going to spend money on factories. We're going to spend money on submarines, nuclear submarines. They will spend money on factories, and we will have the best army and the most weapons and the most guns. Anybody tries to steal anything on the open seas, we can stop them in 3 seconds because we got, you know how expensive it was to keep all those aircraft carriers and nuclear submarines circling the globe? We used to keep like police. Think about that. We used to go around the globe like police go around the block, spending that much money on nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers and jet planes to always be visible in these open waters in case somebody was up to no good. That's what we did. And we have become fatigued. We were in open waters in the China Basin, in the Pacific Sea, and all these places all over the globe, outside of Japan, outside of anywhere there was a piracy or there was a canal or a thruway. We were there protecting that thruway, protecting that canal, so that people could ship commerce. That's what America did. We didn't make TVs. We didn't make headphones. We didn't make cell phones. We made war, and we have become fatigued. We don't have the desire nor the physical ability to no longer police the world. I know you've heard that term, but this is the problem. They don't couple the terms, and they do that purposely. They don't say police the world in as it relates to globalization. Like, why are we policing the world? In order to facilitate globalization, you need police. They don't tell you that. They put out a movie about pirates in Africa, and they show you Navy SEALs floating on the water, making an impossible shot. But no one ever explained to you why either one of those things existed. Why did that Navy SEAL exist with that skill set? And why did that pirate exist? They make a whole fucking movie, and we never go below surface. We just accept the narrative, and no one ever asks, hey, we got fucking pirates, and hey, we got fucking soldiers that could kill a pirate from the water. Why do we have either one? That's never discussed. So when you hear about tariffs, NAFTA, and globalization, you should couple that with police of the world, because Obama told you, what was that, almost 10 years ago, we could not no longer be the police of the world. When he said we could no longer be the police of the world, he was also saying we deglobalization. He should have been building factories. Obama should have started this, but they were focused on gay marriage. When he said we can't police the world, when he said we've been in 2 wars for 20 years, Iraq, that's why I went back to Vietnam. That's why I went back to First Blood. I had to lay down the foundation because it wasn't 2 wars in the beginning. Iraq wasn't a war. Afghanistan wasn't a war. Did y'all know that? Towards the end, Obama got them both classified in the Congress as wars. That's never discussed. Vietnam, no, I just read it to you. Vietnam, not a war. Iraq was a war. Afghanistan was a war, both at the same time for 20 years. We are spent. That's where our globalization went. We instead of being the police and doing our job, we put all our money and focus into 2 wars. And think about that. It's not just Alonzo Hall. Shout out to Alonzo Hall, just came in. Listen to what I'm about to say. It's not just the physical capital, it's the human capital. So we didn't just spend money, we spent lives. You understand? It's not just the monetary capital that was spent and lost, it's the human capital. When I say spent, you immediately people can go to how much money was spent But what about the time, effort, and lives that were spent in 2 wars over 20 years and our ability to have 18-year-olds trained and ready to do the same thing again today? We're not. That's what Obama was saying. We killed all of these people. We don't have enough lives to go to another war. We did 2 wars in 20 years. A lot of people died. We spent a lot of money. We can't go to war for a little while. We got to build up, and then we had a negative birth rate. Then we're going to do the jab, and then we're going to do quarantine. That fucked up the numbers. We don't have numbers to go to war. When I say we are spent on multiple levels. I can't believe they got me frozen like this. When we drop in bars. When we drop in bars, they froze us up. All right, y'all. Great show today. We did our hour. I'm about to go get some healthy, some yogurt, some Greek yogurt. I've been on the Greek yogurt and some wild berries. Some Greek yogurt, some wild berries. I'm going to fuck that up with some granola. But I ain't got no honey. If I had some honey, I'll put some honey on top. I miss the honey too. But I'm going to fuck it up with some granola. It would be great if I just had the Greek yogurt and the wild berries. That would be, that would be great. But I'm going to fuck it up with a shitload of granola. That's going to just blow the calories out the water. You know what I'm saying? It would have been a great 200-300 calorie meal. Good protein, because the Greek yogurt is the Greek yogurt with the protein. So it's 20 grams of protein, wild blueberries. And then here I come with the granola. Like, hello, granola. Yeah, man, I need the granola, man. If I'm going to eat Greek yogurt and wild berries, I need the granola and the honey, man. I need the granola and the honey, man. If I'm going to do Greek yogurt and wild berries, man. Either one. Yeah, man, so we going to shout out to Alonzo Hall. Shout out to Deborah. Shout out to Psyop. Shout out to Joy the Transformer. I seen Jessen Bean in my comments on the shorts. Everybody watching, go watch the shorts, watch the clips, because everybody, you can't watch the whole podcast. Marty McFly, thank you, Marty McFly, for sending good vibes. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. The good vibes is needed. I want to say God bless the chat. God bless everybody for watching. The poll said, do you believe everyone in America gets due process, legal or illegal? The poll said 67% said no. I agree. I agree with that. Straight up. Thank y'all for watching, man. Y'all tune in, 10 a.m. Let's say 9. I'm going to start going for 9 a.m., 9:30.